Hi, I'm Shelley Tougas, Director of the Hudson Area Public Library, here on River Channel with our segment, Books Are Just the Beginning. And today I am here with fellow team members, Pastor Larry Szyman, Mayor Rich O'Connor. We have worked with a coalition of community groups on the Golden Rule Initiative throughout Hudson. And I think we're going on 4.5 or 5 years, which is incredible because it feels like a blink. And this is a really great time for us to talk about the Golden Rule because we are just weeks away from our 3rd annual Booyah, which is Saturday, October 5th from 2 to 7 p.m. And we are going to have great food, fun games and activities for the whole family, and hopefully a slightly cool but sunny day.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the Golden Rule, I do want to talk a little bit about Booyah because for some people, they grew up with it, they know exactly what that is, and I still run into people in town who are like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I was one of those a few years ago. So Rich, you grew up in Booyah culture.
Yes.
So tell us what that was like growing up and what your family did.
Booyah, I grew up on the east side of St. Paul, and Booyah was something that happened in the fall, usually late September, early October, and it was in different neighborhoods. People that put on Booyahs might be your church, unions, playgrounds, and fire departments for sure, police sometimes. And it was a community event where everybody came out to enjoy food that was put on by, or that was cooked by the people that put it on. But they all were similar recipes. Everybody kind of had their own little variation. But it was just something that I grew up with and I never questioned, except for over the course of maybe a month, we would go to maybe 6 different Booyah events.
Wow.
And because they were so close and so prevalent on the east side of St. Paul. It's kind of a regional thing. We talked about this before, where you find pockets where everybody's familiar with a Booyah, and you get just outside of that pocket, regional pocket, and people not only haven't been to one, but they don't even know what it is. They don't know what you're talking about, as you pointed out. So east side of St. Paul, south St. Paul, Maplewood, North St. Paul, everybody was involved in this, and everybody over there knew what a Booyah was. So to me, when we talked about what do we do as a community event, just seemed like a natural suggestion to say, let's do a community Booyah, and figured that everybody would say, yeah, what a great idea.
And I said, you mean what the Marines yell?
Yeah.
And actually, when you asked me about it, I happened to be driving at that moment by a Booyah sign in North St. Paul for their fall fundraiser for the fire department. So I was like, how have I lived around this and never heard of it? Similar experience.
Right, for me, and 2 things that has stuck out to me as we've been doing this a few years now is, number one, it's multi-generational. Those types of events are getting harder to come by. And then secondly, because not many people knew it here, it was introducing something newer to Hudson as opposed to just kind of recreating something that a bunch of other people were doing. So I found it to be a lot of fun.
North Hudson has had a Booyah.
Yes.
Let's not exclude North Hudson. And a lot of people are, that's like their yearly thing. They never miss the North Hudson Booyah. And hopefully they'll go to both.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a matter of fact, the North Hudson people, Tim Zeiss in particular, was really helpful to us in putting this together. So great community spirit there.
You know, if I may, one of the things about Booyahs that was very prevalent back then was people would come with their own containers.
Yes.
And so a Booyah is to actually come in and sit down with your friends, neighbors, family. But if you can't, you know, people would bring in their containers and they get filled up and they get charged per container and they take off. I bring that up because it wasn't long ago, maybe a week ago, somebody said, oh, Booyah, can I bring containers and fill them up and take them with me? I said, absolutely, you can. And I think people need to know that. It's just part of the culture.
Right. Or you can get a big takeout container from us.
From us, right?
Come and eat, and you love it so much, you take out a takeout container.
Yeah.
Better yet.
True, yeah.
Yes.
There were a few people last year who did bring their own containers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is really fun to see.
Yeah.
So I have found this to be not just the Golden Rule team itself, but the Booyah in particular, a really fun and meaningful experience. I mean, it's a crazy amount of work, but you get to know people in a different way, and you just feel like this common sense of purpose, and it's such a crazy couple of days. I just have a blast. So I thought we should just talk quickly about the few days before the Booyah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because it's kind of chaotic, and the way people come to help out has just been so touching. Wednesday is our vegetable chopping day. I went home last year and walked into the house, and my daughter said, "Are you afraid of vampires?" And I was like, "What are you talking? You reek like garlic." I was like, "Well, I have just chopped like a mound of garlic this big." And then why don't you share a little bit about Thursday and Friday, since we make our home at Faith Community those
Thursday
days.
and Friday we spend a lot of time browning and preparing meat. And so, yeah, Wednesday's vegetable day, Thursday, Friday meat day. We got like 8 racks going at all day long, and in and out, storing them, making sure they're safe and secure so that when we go to cook, we're ready to go.
350 pounds of meat. It's
lot of meat.
a lot of meat.
A lot of meat.
And then you're the only one who had been through like the process, or I don't know if you had made it, but understood what time in the morning you need to start your fire and get your kettle out. So why don't you tell everybody what Saturday morning is like, and how early it is?
Sure. So Saturday morning we start out generally, well, we gather at about 4 in the morning at Weitkamp Park. And we get the kettles set up. We had 2 kettles, probably have 2 again this year. And each of them are running about 50 gallons. And a good friend of mine, Dan Vasterling, Chef Dan, comes in and helps us out. He comes over from Roseville, and he's been very helpful in getting everything together. We have gotten so much help from local businesses that have donated the food, the beef, the sausage, the chicken, pork.
Sausage?
All the vegetables.
Yep, that's the vegetables. So hats off to County Market, to Pete Foster at Barker's, to Paul Rohde with Agave, Rick Reams over at RJ's, and then we've had the drinks, root beer and beer donated as well, coming out of Bill's Distributing. Thank you to all of them. But anyway, Saturday morning we get set up. We start out with getting the meat in there, getting it browned a little bit, and get some stock in there, some beef stock, chicken stock. And then the vegetables start coming in, and there's a little Guinness in there, I think.
Yes,
isn't that what you, that
we
was
don't
your
want to
recipe?
reveal too much of the recipe
That's
here,
true.
but yeah,
That's true.
yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, so that's how things go. We try to have everything ready by about 11 o'clock or so, and there's some sampling going on to make sure that recipe is just right. Obviously, different spices and things go in there as well.
And we've got great level of activities. Hopefully we'll have emergency vehicles that the kids can explore if they can work that out. And this year we're going to have a large bouncy obstacle course for kids to go through. I think that's going to be really fun. And the Y and the library have games and other activities there for families to do. So it's been a good time, and people stick around and visit, and that's was the point.
Right.
Yeah, I would say one of my greatest joys in this is sitting back and just looking at people at picnic tables strewn all over this place, just hanging out.
Yes.
So, you know, that's the goal, is to create community in a time when community is kind of under assault through social media and stuff. This is an opportunity to remember, hey, we're neighbors after all.
Yeah.
We generally want the same things out of life, and we're not that different.
Right. Yeah, this is about celebrating our community. So when we started out 2 years ago, we thought we'd be successful if we had 200, 250 people show up. Wildly successful with about 600 people showing up. And then last year we doubled those numbers with 11 to 1,200 people showing up. And by the way, we did have enough to go around, and some left over afterwards. So there's plenty of food. And by the way, probably needs to be said, that it's not just the Booyah, but we also have hot dogs and different things, snacks. And again, hot dogs, forgot to mention that RJ's did the hot dogs too, not just the andouille sausage.
Right. And a vegan stew.
And a vegan stew, yeah.
Yes. So And, you know, it's a public park. You can just come and enjoy the
Hang out.
activities if you'd like to, or bring a sandwich.
Yep.
You're missing out, but you're welcome to bring your own sandwich.
Yeah.
The thing we forgot to mention about Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday was you promising no rain every day, and then it raining Saturday morning, which seems to be our pattern. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
for that.
someone's got to step up.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Golden Rule because I found online a recent survey. It's from 2023. It's from Good Living Science Center, which is affiliated with University of California at Berkeley. And they did a survey on the Golden Rule and raising children. And here are two of the findings. Only 14%, and that's 14, not 40, 14% of parents use the phrase the Golden Rule at all. And another quarter responded that they themselves are not really familiar with the phrase the Golden Rule. And, you know, for me, it was sort of a foundational principle of my childhood. I'm reminded about it a lot. So I'm curious, any thoughts as to why we heard that level of response from parents nationwide?
I think there's a drift away from organized religion as such, but you know the phrase "golden rule" is not found anywhere. It's a label that was, you know, put upon a teaching that Jesus gave, which was simply to treat others the way you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. And before that, the Jews did that. You know, Mesopotamian cultures. I mean, this is, yeah. So while I would say that the phrase may not be used, everybody is teaching this concept. Everyone recognizes this principle of treating others the way you want to be treated is really crucial to get along with one another. Mm-hmm. And the civility, respect, and understanding that we're promoting through the Golden Rule is just that. It's just saying, hey, we got each other. We got to have each other's backs. And yeah, so while the phrase is waning in popularity, more and more we're talking about character education and treating each other well and being civil.
I think that's true, and I think there's a reawakening.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that regardless of the culture or religion, I think it got lost in all cultures, in all religions. It didn't just fade away with the Golden Rule as a Christian teaching. I think it kind of faded away in subsequent generations in every single culture and every single religion. And I think we found that in talking with people. That's pretty spot on with what I found when I went into some of the grade schools and asked the kids, how many of you know third graders, how many of you know the Golden Rule? And I got about a 25% response. It kind of threw me when I first asked that, because we were taught that in school. And we talked about this when we first started this initiative. I remembered back into first grade, and this happened in second and third grade, where we had a ruler that was handed out at the beginning of the year that had the Golden Rule on the ruler, sponsored by Coke. But somebody told me that it went back to, the originator of the founder of the Rotary, Harris, Paul Harris, is that his name?
Yeah, Paul Harris.
And he said the Rotary was actually based upon the foundations of the Golden Rule. And so I think it could be that he had something to do with those rulers going out around the country. It wasn't just here, it was throughout the country that they did for grade school. They don't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And so who's left to teach the Golden Rule then?
It's probably a good point to mention that Daybreak Rotary here in Hudson has officially become a Golden Rule Rotary Club,
Right.
which I think speaks highly of the initiative, but also community understanding that, you know, we can do something locally to try to bring down the tension and the division that we're seeing.
You know, as the sign says, the Golden Rule starts here, and it shows the people making the sign of the heart, and we just recognize that this is where it starts. This is an interior decision-making type thing about how people view one another, how people eventually treat one another based on how they view one another, and that's where it starts.
You know, that is such a good point, because so many people will respond according to how people treat them, right? And so people have a tendency to say, well, you didn't treat me with respect, and therefore I'm not going to treat you with respect. I'm going to treat you the same way you treat me. And that's where we need to say, this isn't about how other people act. This is about how we as individuals act, because it all starts internally with us. And regardless of how other people treat you, right?
Yeah, we have an option of how to respond.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes then you set a tone that the person responds to in kind. Sometimes they don't. But hopefully, throughout our community at least, little by little, bit by bit, we maybe see some calming down of tension and just more kindness in general. Particularly on Facebook, that would be nice.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
I do want to say that in this survey, they found that parents still care about the golden rule and the things that it's trying to teach. The core values that came up repeatedly in that survey were empathy, respect, and kindness, which are clearly foundational to the golden rule. Empathy being the number one. And as a librarian, I want to point out that one of the great ways to teach children empathy and to understand other people's perspectives is through fiction. You are reading stories about people who have problems, and you think about what it's like for them, what's happening in the story, how you would feel if you were that character. And those are ways kids internalize empathy without feeling like it was taught to them in a lesson. So just a little library plug.
Yeah, that's good.
Speaking of plugs, we've got a book coming out.
We do have a book coming out. We're working on a golden rule picture book that every kid in Hudson schools will get a copy of. And it is
K through 3, is it?
K through 3, yes, thank you. Yes, I don't want it
Well,
17-year-olds
manage those expectations.
Yeah.
Where's mine? But it is in honor of Dick Weitkamp,
Yeah,
who was a Rotary member.
and who lived the golden rule.
Who,
Good
yes,
man.
Yeah.
yes. And his family is helping us with that project. So what else do we want to let people know about the golden rule, some of the things we've been doing? I think it's important to point out our lawn sign. People have probably seen these. And you can get the sign and the stand for free. If you would like one, email goldenrulehudson@gmail.com. We now we're official. We're email official. And we're happy to bring those out to people's homes.
Yep, absolutely.
Anything else?
Well, I think it's important that people know that, you know, we do have an organization that's working on the golden rule, hence the signs, bookmarks, again, apropos. And we have stickers for the kids that have gone into the schools, and they're handed around in the churches and things like that, the library as well.
Schools.
Yep. But I also wanted to point out that Hudson is a Golden Rule city.
Yeah.
You know, we made the proclamation declaring Hudson a Golden Rule city right before we started the Golden Rule Initiative team, and that's what kind of kicked it off. But I want people to know that we are a Golden Rule city, and we want to officially a Golden Rule city. You'll see that on the city website. And we want people to think about that and keep that in mind in their everyday dealings with other people, especially at this critical moment in time.
Yeah, this being an election season, and we've got professional people who are committed to try to view each other with suspicion, kind of us-them type thing, and we don't have to take that bait. We can have convictions and still treat each other kindly. It's not an either-or proposition.
Right.
All right, so I want to sign off with a quick trivia question.
Uh-oh.
See if you guys might know the answer. There is a nickname for Booyah. Can you tell me which one it is? Midwest Mulligan, French broth, or Belgian penicillin?
I'll go with C.
Yeah, I'm going with C too.
Well, you guys are no fun because that is correct. What gave it away?
Penicillin, the healing power of Booyah. I mean,
Okay.
it's just,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, it's just the origins.
Belgium.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to think of the name of the area. It's the Wallon is the language that they speak.
Yeah.
So it's a part of French-speaking Belgium is apparently where people came from and settled in the Midwest, and
Here we are.
here we are today.
Yeah.
They brought their stew with them.
And the East Siders thought it was about them.
That's right.
All those Belgians.
It was rich.
Yeah, all the Belgians over in on the east side of
And the
St.
east
Paul.
side, that's right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope to see you October 5th at the Booyah at Weitkamp Park. It's going to be a great time, and we'll see you next time on River Channel.